welcome back everybody for lunch. Oh yeah, we already have a fan club over here. Give me a woo! Even better than with Hendrik, I won't tell him. Yeah, I hope you had enough lunch this time, so I hope, as Andy said, we fixed the situation. Apparently we were told there were like 550 portions for close to 300 people, so probably some of you were more hungry than the others, but yeah, I'll leave it up to you. Our next talk is about how to actually make sense of all the data that we have in the whole software development lifecycle. And for that, we have Julian, who is a DevOps engineer with WhizUs, which is a Viennese company here, so one of our locals. And we have Daniel, who is the CEO and co-founder of Chainloop, a company that is particularly focused on solving these questions and these problems. So please give them a warm applause and have fun in the next 30 minutes.
Thank you, guys. At this point, I would like to take over and welcome you to our presentation. And today, we are going to talk about unlocking software factory insights with MCP. And who are we, basically? My name is Julian. I'm 26 years old, and I am DevOps engineer at WhizUs since 2023. So since 2 years. I am good with Kubernetes stuff and can build good pipeline solutions. And also, I've been engaging in supply chain topics in the last few months. So I have also a little bit of knowledge there. I am in IT industry since 5 years in general. And my hobbies are playing chess and talking with friends, I guess. Yeah. Yeah, today my part will be to show you the demo we have prepared for our topic. And with that said, Daniel, the stage is yours.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Daniel. I'm the father and founder. I used to be biker and traveler, not anymore. And I met my co-founder more than 10 years ago at Bitnami. I don't know if you know, Bitnami is a catalog of open source applications. And at Bitnami, I think we built one of the most sophisticated software factories I have ever seen before. And automation was the key there. Automation was so important because if you have so many different platforms from Windows, Linux, OS X, HPX, RX, and Kubernetes images, different cloud images, and you have to automatically update them, compile from source, tested in native environments. You need automation because otherwise you are not able to deal with, for instance, OpenSSL Heartbleed. And at some point we took all these lessons from the last 15 years. And actually, Miguel started the open source project, Chainloop, and he said, okay, the time is now. The time is now because we believe that, this is a very simple example of the pipeline of the software factory, but the number of DevSecOps solutions and tools that you use is growing. It's not only that. We have different teams, and those teams, they have different KPIs, different workflows and reasons for daily work. And the number of reports and artifacts and data they generate is growing as well. In enterprises, it's even worse. And if you add on top of that, and I think previous talk was touching a little bit on that as well, if you add on top of that the rising software supply chain attacks, new regulations like CRA in Europe. Also, we are building more and more code with AI. It's getting crazy, and I believe that we are drowning in SDLC data, and very often we are starving for insights. Why data are so important? I think data, or SDLC metadata, is the bedrock. So if automation is the key, metadata is the bedrock, and I think that metadata deserve the same treatment we treat our pipelines, infrastructure as code, artifacts, etc. Why? Because we are making decisions, important decisions based on them. If you want to deploy something to production, if you want to send a new version of software to satellite, you do it based on data from your DevSecOps tools, from CV scanning reports, from legal review, from software delivery person checklist review. So now someone may ask the question, okay, we have AI right now, can we use AI? And unfortunately, the very famous sentence may apply here, garbage in, garbage out. So you have to give AI good foundations. And what we're going to talk today about is that if you want to unlock the power of AI, you need trusted data, you need context, and you need tools. And you get all of that with Chainloop open source project. So you can go to GitHub repository. It's Apache 2.0 license created by Miguel a few years ago. And this is pretty much evidence store or trusted repository for any artifacts, data, so you can centralize all of that in one place. You can also centralize all your policies, requirements, and then you can continuously get insights, compliance posture, security posture from Chainloop. So before, without Chainloop, you have a cloud of information, data, metadata in your SDLC. With Chainloop, what we want to get is like a graph of connected, signed artifacts, pieces of evidence, information from different teams. And the most important part here is that you can actually democratize that knowledge graph. Anyone can add their own pieces of information. You can try it at home. It's actually a pretty nice cloud-native project written in Go. We have a Helm chart, very good deployment, documentation. You can deploy it on pretty much any Kubernetes cluster or OpenShift. So now let's talk about quickly, how do we do it? How do we deliver trusted data? So first of all, we give you declarative contracts. You can define and set expectations between different producers, like for instance, CI/CD pipelines, and Chainloop. You can define what you expect from automated or human-driven workflows as well. So in this example, we ask for Sarif report and CycloneDX JSON file. You can also attach policies. And those policies, we use Rego. Those policies can be about anything. About, okay, is my GitHub pipeline configured properly? Was that commit signed? Or test coverage that you sent, is it above 80% or not? This is an example of quality gate that you can build with policies and how you can configure it when you attach it to Chainloop contract. What's more, we give you also opinionated stack of different latest, the greatest software supply chain security projects. So we use Sigstore, we use Intoto. The previous talk was talking about that. So we use cosigned library for signing. We use Sigstore bundle format, and we store it in our registry. We use Salsa and many more components. You can use also your own PKI infrastructure. It's not only about Sigstore. You can use the PKI infrastructure that you use at home or some cloud versions of that. So in the end, our trusted data are stored inside Chainloop as in total attestations, where you have all information about Git commits, artifacts, evidence, versions of policies evaluated. Was it okay? Or it wasn't okay? And everything is signed as well. So what do we do about context? For context, and I will spend a bit more time here because content-addressable storage, I think that concept is well known for all of you because OCI storage is pretty much that. But we take it to the next level. we make it federated. So we allow you to connect pretty much any cloud storage. It can be OCI, or it can be S3 or Cloudflare R2. That's pretty much, I think that would be a cool idea if someone at some point built some kind of distribution API in front of that, because this way you can build $0 egress solution based on Cloudflare R2. So if you're interested, I would love to work on this kind of talk. But anyway, CAS give you a way to build a graph, because everything is referenced by the content. And this way you can build control gates, and this way you can allow anyone to add new nodes to that graph. So those black boxes, those are attestations, and those circles are different artifacts or pieces of evidence. And how does it work? So I will give you just a very simple example, because the graph is one thing, but what you can do with Chainloop, you can either use gRPC, API endpoint, RESTful endpoint, or you can use the CLI. So what I want to do right now, I want to ask Chainloop, hey, what do you know about Chainloop CLI? So first of all, I will get the SHA, and I will run Chainloop discover command against that SHA, and Chainloop will return some kind of JSON with information about different attestations. So now let's go after the second SHA. This is the attestation which is referencing that binary, that CLI binary. And now what we are going to get are information, other nodes, about GitHub commits, about different artifacts stored in the same attestation. And we can dig deeper and deeper. There are different commands that you can use. You can get the stick-store bundle, you can get the into the attestation, or you can get a nice table showing you all information, how, when, was the very specific pieces of evidence or artifact built or stored. And you have evaluation of all policies, is it verified or not. If you go a step further, you can even download that very specific artifact from our federated content-addressable storage. So if you use download against that very specific SHA, you will get it from your S3 bucket. And this is super powerful, and this is important to understand, because now we'll show you how you can expose that graph to the AI. The last piece I was telling you about are powerful tools. I will just touch the surface on some of them. First of all, you know that the whole attestation process is guided, and you can either use gRPC or API or RESTful API to do it, or you can follow very simple CLI flow with init, add. You can keep adding your artifacts or your pieces of evidence. When you do attestation push, that's the moment when we do the signing, we do verification, we make sure that jar file is actually a binary, or we make sure that we validate the content of SelectFromDX, and we run all policies assigned to the very specific contract. So that's a way how you can actually build control gates. And this is a very easy to use it in GitLab, GitHub, or any other CI/CD. Finally, we have also custom policy tooling. This is a new thing. It allows you to build custom policies, but it also allows AI to generate new policies with natural language. So in the last few weeks, we were doing some experiments, and by providing a prompt and good and bad data and an example policy, AI was able to iterate and keep improving the policy in Rego just using those tools. That's why I'm saying that AI needs good tools to be able to improve the content it's generating. We also have plugins. I will skip maybe that part, but we have the SDK, and you can send automatically data to different solutions like dependency track or GUAC. And the final one is MCP, Model Context Protocol. This is just a standard how AI systems can interact with Chainloop. And this is what we want to show you right now during the demo. We are going to dig into Chainloop open source project, and we will show you how to get insights from how the sausage is being made in Chainloop itself. So we have Chainloop open source project. GitHub Actions are creating attestations. we have a Chainloop instance running, an MCP interface open, and Julian's going to show you how to use Cursor to get some insights from that.
Thank you very much, Daniel. Yeah, and before we start with the demo, I would like to tell you a little story. So imagine you are newly hired for our organization as an architect, and you are getting used to the stuff there. You are trying to get an overview of the posture of the organization, how they are doing security-wise, how they are doing compliance-wise. And yeah, usually to gather all these informations, you would be required to talk to a bunch of people. And the chances are likely that these people have calendars which are fuller than a highway in the rush hour in Vienna. So, so actually, this can take a tedious amount of times. And with MCP and an AI client like Cursor or Cloud Desktop, you can do this in a couple of minutes, basically. And for that, I would like to share you my editor. And basically, we have your prompt. And I will explain the prompt in a minute. But let's execute this prompt first, because this will take a little bit of time. But we can talk in the meantime about the prompt. So the prompt I've here is broken down into two parts, basically. One part is a task part, which is the very first sentence. Generate me a security dashboard for the Chainloop open source project. This is what we are going to do, generating a dashboard with live data from production. And everything below down here is something I would consider as configurational part. So these are additional information I add to the prompt to make the response more accurate. And usually this is not required. So the first part, the sentence, would be alone in 90% of the cases. But we found after some testing that adding these configuration makes the response much easier to replicate in the end. And if we take a look at our chat right now, we see we are executing this. Actually, I have passed over the context of this file to my chat and told Cursor to execute this. Actually, a really nice feature with the context. But yeah. What is Cursor first doing? It is running the MCP tools, which is basically configured on the MCP server side. And it is executing all these tools, getting all the information it needs, and then it passes me a response from that context. And as we see, it generates me an HTML file with some of the configuration we have here in the prompt. For example, like the metrics we wanted to include, dashboard sections, design, configuration, etc. And how does it look like? Let me open my browser. And that's the file we generated. Then let's open it. And that's the result we have received from our AI client. And as we can see, we have here trusted data from our production environment in Chainloop. Here we have the pre-release version with the latest version. We have then here the metrics we defined. So we wanted to know in this example that how many artifacts we have stored currently for these two releases, and also which workflows are running against these releases, and a bunch of other information. Yeah. Yeah, for the active workflows, as you can see, we have here static code analysis, continuous image scanning, scorecards, Helm packaging, and release workflows. So kind of basic, I would say. And yeah. And what's also interesting is the part with the release history here. We have also information about the production release histories. And this might be interesting for people who might work in the field of SREs. Generating release overview would be a very easy task for MCP to do. And then we have also a little short overview about the compliant frameworks for our open source project. And yeah, currently the Chainloop open source project is checked against SALSA 1.1 and CRA, and has defined its own best practices, of course. That's the long version with the prompt. As I said, it's usually not required to have such a big prompt. We have also prepared another example in the slides. Just let me slideshow it. Yeah, and that's the short example. In this example, we wanted to know if we have any security issues in our recent workflows in the last 3 months, and avoid downloading these pieces of evidences to just save time during the demo. And yeah, and I've included the responses here as slides. So yeah, and basically it just checked all of the policy validations we have configured there. And yeah, apparently we had 0 high severity vulnerabilities for our 4 container scans. But it seems like we have some license issues with missing licenses for some of the dependencies, which is actually not directly asked from our prompt, because we asked for security issues, but actually this kind of information is also nice to know. And yeah. And that's the rest of the prompt. It has also given us a bunch of other useful information, such as, yeah, our Git commits are properly signed, attestations are signed, and their SBOMs are present for all containers, and a short summary of, yeah, how the current situation is. And after that, would I be the architect, I would feel a little bit more enlightened about the current situation. Yeah. Yeah, and yeah, one last thing I will quickly go through is how is the SDLC data you have in your infrastructure going into the AI client you are using, for example, with Cursor. So basically, your SDLC data sources are usually your pipelines. You have maybe GitHub action workflows, maybe you have pipelines for build and release, maybe you have security scans, which generates reports, or maybe you have a testing report from your testing Q&A team. These are all evidences, which are then centralized in the Chainloop evidence store. And next to the Chainloop server, we have an MCP server, which has access to the Chainloop server. And with our AI client, we are connecting to that MCP server. So that's how we are pulling the SDLC data into our AI client in a trusted way. And how does this work on a higher level? So basically, we have more or less process chains, more or less. We have evidence chain, policy chain, and so on. And each of them are holding a bunch of information. Evidence piece information are attached to an attestation, and this is attached to a workflow, and this is attached to a project, and so on. And each of them have metadata context. And this metadata is quite useful because it not only gives us feedback about integrity for our builds and artifacts, it also enables us a high level of traceability for our builds, and is therefore also useful for future troubleshooting. One particular example I had in mind is, for example, maybe a new CVE is published, and you want to know if you are affected right away. And yeah, usually you can do that by looking into Federated reports if you have any, and then from there you can trace this back to the workflow because the metadata in Chainloop is there. And from there, you can get back to the commit when the CVE has been introduced. This, of course, only works for CVEs which are new and not detected in a continuous scan. Yeah. And that was pretty much all from my side. I would give the lead back to Daniel.
Yeah. Okay, so just a quick slide so we have some room for questions. Remember, I think the time when you can start talking to your laptop and ask questions about what's going on, have I have a crisis, or something doesn't work, or are we ready to go to production, this is coming. And I think we are going to show some demos the next time we talk about that. But before, I want you to take home 3 things, like remember the automation is key. In this example, or if you want to make sure that your software is secure or compliant, context is king, and trusted metadata is the bedrock. Remember, you can try it at home. Find us, contact us. I'm more than happy to talk to you or show you more what you can do with Chainloop open source. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you from my side too.
Everybody, questions?
Hey, thanks for the cool presentation. One question I had, with all of those different artifact types that Chainloop takes in, is this like also supporting generic artifact types, and do you have semantic conversions of how those graph gets built up? Basically, can you add new artifacts, or is this like a hard-coded kind of setup of what it can take in?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So like today, you have many different artifact types, like Sarif or different kind of SBOMs or some XMLs for test reports. But we also have generic artifacts. So you can store binaries, or you can store just evidence, or you can store just JSON. And remember that this is an open source project, so you can we are more than happy to accept new PRs. It's very easy to add new pieces of evidence. Yeah, so like the list, like in the documentation, you can find the whole table. But even if you can't really find your own artifact type, you still can add it. It's not going to be validated during the attestation. We'll just check the existence of that artifact. That's it.
Where do you see yourself positioned in relation to other artifact management systems like JFrog Artifactory, perhaps Harbor?
That's a very good question. Like today, you can actually plug JFrog Artifactory to Chainloop, right? So like we see some people are storing all this artifacts and pieces of evidence in OCI registry. We believe that, first of all, like Chainloop is the evidence stored is open sourced, and we are kind of combining different pieces of technology from the open source world, like Sigstore and Salsa and Intoto, just to make sure that you can build your own empowered registry. So I would say that you can just use JFrog Artifactory with Chainloop today, and you can build on top of that. I'm not sure if you are if that was your question. Of course, I don't know exactly what kind of other features do they have. Definitely they do more on software supply chain security, but you can still do it here as well. So like we are more like Switzerland here, right? Like you can use Artifactory or you can use S3 or anything. You can build your own policies in Rego and you can switch wherever you want. Especially it's important if you care about compliance, because we allow you, if you have your special storage in your own office, or you have, I don't know, Google storage in Switzerland or Tokyo, you can use it with Chainloop without any problem.
Perfect. I happen to be Swiss, by the way.
Cool.
Any more questions? Somebody's raising their hand over there. I can see it. Yes, no? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, gone. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Applause.
Thank you.